Thank you. Good morning, Samson.
Great. You and I have had discussions about Sedina Tamakloe in the past, and the fact that you had triggered the process, and yet, very little was being done to consummate it. I suppose today you're excited about this, right?
Hi, Samson, definitely I'm excited because the work that we commenced while in office has actually come to fruition. After her conviction, we went back to the court for a warrant for her arrest. Subsequent to that, we began the extradition process, and in July 2024, everything was forwarded to the relevant authorities for the process to commence in the U.S. So upon exiting office in January 2025, it was my expectation that the process is fully through. And thankfully now, we are told that Sedina has been arrested by the U.S. authorities awaiting her extradition.
Questions have also been asked, why did it take you so long after her conviction to begin the extradition process?
Something. She was convicted in 2024. I don't know the exact date. Right after her conviction, we began the process. And those who have worked the ages, they know the steps which you can have such a matter expedited in another county. And so we activated the process in office through the DPP's office. At the end of the day, everything was done. I remember I had an interview somewhere in August 2024, where I made the public know that he had been able to locate where Sedina was living, and she was being monitored by the U.S. authorities, and that very soon she will be arrested, and then this of extradition definitely begin. But now we are told that she has been arrested, detained. It is my expectation that the extradition process will go through the U.S. and then to be brought back to Ghana to serve a sentence.
Can you also confirm to us that once she's brought to Ghana, she gets to the airport, what happens? She goes home?
The moment she gets to the airport, there is a warrant for her commitment to prison. She ought to be arrested by the security agencies and right away into prison custody. No two ways about that.
We have people who have had warrants on their heads, come through the airports, walk through their homes, go to do processes in different courts and walk out of this country. So please, how can you be so sure that she will come to the airport, get arrested, and through to the Insawam?
Unless there is state complicity, if the state decides that it's not going to activate agents to monitor and arrest her at the airport, then that's where we will be. But if the state decides to activate whatever it's supposed to do, then the moment she lands in Accra, she ought to be picked up and be sent to prison custody. But the space is being monitored. The moment that process is completed in the U.S., Ghanaians will also be watching to see what happens when he gets to Ghana.
She was convicted, and it's been over a year since her conviction and sentence. The sentence begins from the very day of the conviction. So when she comes, if she does, and she's taken to Insawam, is she going to start fresh? Is that how does it work?
Something I know that's quite contentious. I've listened to arguments from lawyers that if you look at section 294, if I'm not mistaken, conviction or sentence starts from the day that it's pronounced. For that matter, so far as she was convicted and sentenced on a certain date, her sentence will start from that date. But in looking at statute and other provisions in an act, you have to look at the intention behind such provision. If you read that provision so carefully, you realize that it assumes that the moment that person is convicted, the person is under the custody of the court and will begin his or her sentence. And so it will also involve the judiciary at a point in time. If Sedina argues that after her conviction, she spent some years outside prison that count, the state also say no. Let's go and then carry it based on this section in the criminal act. Speaking for myself, the intention behind that section is that at the time that that person is sentenced, that person should be under the custody or in the custody of the court. For that matter, you don't have the latitude of going back home. But if you are home, for example, if he spends 9 years in the U.S. and is extradited to Ghana, are we going to say that you come and spend about 6 months and they will be set free? That will be absurd. That's the reason why I think it will require some judicial intervention at the point in time to know the true meaning of that section in Act 30.
The chief operating officer of the Maslog that she worked with, who was also tried and convicted to 5 years, do you know if he's in fact in prison? Because I'm hearing that just a while ago that he must have gotten some bail and is challenging the appeal. What do you know? Challenging the conviction. When
he was convicted, he filed an appeal.
Right.
And so before we left office, we're looking at how those processes will be done in court and for his appeal to be heard. I only realized within the week that the Supreme Court has granted him bail pending appeal. I just read it. And so the presumption is that since he's granted bail, he should be home now. But that doesn't mean that the conviction of that gentleman has been set aside. But just that the Supreme Court has granted him bail from what I read from the newspaper.
Yes, so all this hue and cry about bring her home, and she comes home, she's also entitled. She could go seek appeal, file an appeal. Time may have run out, but she may go for extension of time to file the appeal, file an appeal, and then seek for bail and could really be at home and not hiding like she was in the U.S.
I mean, it's so surprising if she's granted bail by any court in Ghana. I'm not a court. It's not about conviction, about it. Bail. Because as you know, if you were granted bail in a case and you jump that bail, by law, you are not entitled to any bail again.
Right.
She was granted bail by the court. She stopped permission of the court to travel to the U.S. for medical reasons. She has jumped bail. In fact, her surety, I think, is Alex Mood, has to go through because we're trying to restrict the bond against him.
That's right.
And so now that he's been arrested in the U.S., if she comes to Ghana, by law, she's not entitled to bail. As for her right to appeal, that is her right. If the court looks through and realizes that maybe her conviction was wrong or something, definitely she'll be acquitted of this charge. But we are keenly watching this space because there are people who also have some kind of conspiracy and arrest, but I don't want to believe in conspiracy.
Right.
We are keenly watching this space, what will happen.
Right. So let me find out from Bobby about this, the two of you, the lawyers, if you have any different views on that. Bobby,